Hey gang, Joyce with Skippy Cass Farms here. Just getting ready to do another little project in the greenhouse. Family came over earlier. They were sitting over here. Apologize, I got a bit of a pulled muscle. I tripped on a piece of rebar yesterday and pulled the muscle, the top of my hip. It's a little uncomfortable. So they were over at the end of the semi. There's that little dark shaded spot, and they were kind of seeking to cool off a little bit. And I called them over here and reminded them of this shade over here, and they were grazing here. And went out, and then I went back into the greenhouse, and now they're back over here. So why am I talking to you? I just like talking about the sheep. Those little buggers are so cute. But the purpose of this video is kind of like everything. It's not so much what I do, but trying to share with how I think and why I do what I do. Because everybody has different land regulations, money guidelines, time guidelines, animal guidelines, and your properties are all different. So if all I tell you is, Vincent says you can go in and regraze after 30 days and you build a whole grazing system based on that, and your context is not 30 days, but say the context for your property is 25. After a period of 3 or 4 years, you're going to have an overgrazed, degraded soil. And there's no way around it because you have to go with nature. You can't go with the system. But I ramble. So I've been working in the greenhouse here for a while. Got a number of things started. And I wanted to do some more experimenting with I've got some seed that's really old. Okay. And what's the point in keeping it if it's not going to germinate? Well, I don't want to count on it going into my garden, right? So I've already got, you can see my tomatoes over here, and I got a little pumpkin here that's coming up. I'm so excited about that. In here we've got several different kinds of peppers. In these two trays you're not going to see anything. These were just planted a few days ago. In that far tray I've got old seeds in there. Those old seeds were soaking. Normally they come up within 7 to 14 days, but I read online that with some of the older seed it may take a lot longer to germinate. So that's why I have that over there in the corner. You can see over here I've got a couple of really small cabbages, but I've got 6 or 8 decent ones. And then my basil has not come up yet. Putting them in those small cups uncovered may not be the best because it's hard to keep them from drying out. So this tray is a tray I just did this morning. Now, it's got cucumbers, it's got mammoth sunflowers, it's got some echinacea, it's got some, on the other end it's got some short stuff, sunflowers, and some cantaloupe. What I wanted to show you is I had ordered some stuff and I needed just a few more dollars to get free shipping. So I had gotten some of these celled trays pretty cheap from, and they are cheap, from Johnny's Seeds, because Johnny makes you have a certain amount to get free shipping. So I ordered 2 of these, and then I ordered some bottoms that were, these are actual bottoms. but they're really kind of flimsy compared to the Barefoot Farmer stuff. They're real flimsy, but I've come up with a system that works really, really well. These make good short domes, humidity domes. Now it does block the light a bit, but you can see this one's been on the Jack B. Little Pumpkins for a couple of weeks and it's still in really good shape. And the question is, why? Well, the way it just so happens, this is one I just made this morning. And this is one I made a week or two ago. And how did I get it to do that and look so good? Well, the key is right here. I had gone and gotten some plastic and prayed about how I was going to do that, and I wanted some plastic to try and make some kind of a dome. And I got this plastic with a slide cutter on it. Now I'm not going to actually do it now, but basically all I do with that base is put the slide cover here, grab both corners of the plastic, slide it up, slide it over, tape the four corners, put a little piece of tape on the side, and what do you have? You have, voila, a very nice humidity cover. So you'll want to always try and be thinking outside the box, because Ian Mitchell Ennis says it, and it's so true, it bears repeating. The easiest way to make a profit is to save an expense. He challenges people to remove 2 expenses from their farm each year in terms of how they run their management process, because that will guarantee cost expenses going up and things aren't going to eat into your profit margin like they would otherwise. So one of the other things I'm experimenting with is my own soil blend. That's really the purpose of this video. I've got another 50 tray. I've got a bag of seed that I got 15 years ago out in California, and these are some Sonora chili peppers. Well, you can see there's a whole herd of seeds in there. I've already got some seeds started over there. So why would I do another tray, 50 cell tray with the same seed? 2 reasons. Number one, experience. You know, there is no substitute for hands-on. And number 2, I'm trying to come up with a variety of things. Sorry about that, gang. I pulled a muscle, and stepping over that threshold is pretty high, and it's a little awkward for me. So as you can see, that threshold is about 12 inches high. I think he just came in and got in my way when I was trying to come out. Hey, Miss Lucy, she's the official feline supervisor. But the main focus of the video is in front of you. Now, if any of you watched any of my videos, you know I've got a background in science, which includes a little bit of background in geology and in chemistry. So I'm a big soils girl. I did not know anything about soils as a function of my geology training. My geology training was about carbonate diagenesis in the oil industry. So I've learned most of what I'm going to talk to you about by educating myself online, mostly through YouTube. You have to be a little careful there, because there's a lot of people putting things on YouTube that are newbies, or they're a really good farmer or rancher, but they're just quoting some other technical information and they don't know how to verify it or interpret it. So what I did was I went online, came up with a variety of different potting soils. This is like my 4th or 5th permutation of potting soil. What my recipe is now is based on several different people, and so it's essentially 1 part of peat moss. Why peat moss instead of coconut coir? I had it, it's cheap, my soil here is acidic anyway, and I can counterbalance that acidity in the potting soil with getting some of the eggshells from my birds and just grinding it up in a coffee grinder and adding it in, which is what I did. So what you're looking at is 1 part of peat moss, 1 part mushroom compost, 1 part or about a half a part of aged manure. The mushroom compost and the aged manure probably added up to 1 single part. When you're looking in here and you see these little round things, that's aged sheep manure. They poop out little pellets. I call them raisin poop. But so we've got peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, compost. Compost is split in half with my aged manure and mushroom compost. Then I add a lot of other stuff, just in tiny traces. Why? Because it's more based on the chemistry. What everybody else does with their potting soil for the most part is texture, to make sure it stays moist, it stays light, and but so what did I add? Well, I'll add about a palmful, and of course half of this batch is already gone, so you'll just have to, you may have to dial down for what you, or dial up, but I've got a composite, just a generalized sheep manure. That's a real fine sand grain size. So I add a palmful, which I imagine is about 15 grams. So I added some sheep manure, or sheep mineral. I added a little bit of wood ash. Wood ash moderates the pH and adds potassium and phosphorus. I've got some here. I add a little bit of biochar. I made my own and did a video on that. Is there anything else that I'm missing? And then when I water it to dampen it, I use a 20-to-1 mixture of SES, or maintenance solution. You can get pre-made maintenance solution through Chris Trump at Biomei, Biomei. It's a Korean natural farming input. It's absolutely awesome. Chris does a lot of, has turned around his family farm and new Master Cho, and has been doing this for a long time. I also got the ingredients from him to make my own maintenance solution, which is what I do now. So I just do a 20-to-1 maintenance solution and add that to the water, the rainwater or non-chlorinated water that I use to dampen my potting soil. And there you have it. I add a little bit of rock dust. I think that's everything. Sometimes when I was working with the other vermiculite that was so fine, I also added some sand. Well, the only sand I had was some play sand that was washed and clean, and so I used it. if you want to include a little bit of indigenous microbes, if you've got a place where let me come up here. If you've got a place like we do here, and you've got trees, and if you're familiar with my place, I've got the one area, and you're not going to be able to see it from here, but back by where the chicken tractor is, there's an area where a bunch of trees were piled up about 10 years ago, and there's some really good organic soil there. And you can always grab you don't need a whole bunch, you only need a handful or so, and add that too. Why would you do that? You're inoculating it with your own microbes. Probably what I will be doing next year is adding vermicast, because I'm raising my own worms. So I'll have enough worm castings next year that I'll be able to add that to my potting soil. And I'm in the process of doing some chemistry work to add trace minerals in solution. So just like you do with the maintenance solution with Korean Natural Farming, I'll be able to customize the trace minerals. So I can put zinc, manganese, magnesium, copper, boron, molybdenum, whatever I need in my soil. I'll be able to come up with a baseline parts per million and be able to add that to water at the appropriate concentrations for my place, and then just include that as like I included the maintenance solution into the watering factor here. I'll include that like a maintenance solution into my watering mechanism that I have in place for my earthworms. So now all of those minerals will stay chelated because they're going through an earthworm gut, and they'll be bioavailable immediately. So that's the goal down the road, ultimately in the next couple of years. But this is my topsoil, or my potting soil. This is what I've got together. Squeeze it. It's drying out a little bit. It's not quite as wet, but it's very, very crumbly. Very crumbly and very loose. Let's dig down here a little bit. Dig down here to the bottom. It'll be a little moisture, but yeah, it's a little bit moisture. Now, if you want to know if something's saturated, how are you going to do that? Generally speaking, a good rule of thumb is if you take whatever dirt or soil you have in your hand or material and you squeeze it as hard as you can, you will get some moisture and a few drops of water to come out of your hand. That'll be about 70% saturated. That's the amount of moisture you really want for your earthworms. What I've got here is probably, I'm guessing a little bit here, but right now that's probably maybe 35 or 40% saturated. It's not even really getting my hands wet. And you can see even this manure pellet, sheep manure pellet, is not sticking and holding together. So this is pretty dry. I'm going to need to add some water to it. But the technique that I do for filling the trays, this is what I'm trying now. It's what I have equipment for. This is the Seld tray that I got from Johnny's. It's pretty flimsy. You can kind of see that. Typically what I'm doing now is I'm filling the ridges here in the bottom. I'm filling those with peat moss and watering that down, and so it's saturated. And then I'll come in and let me see if I can get up and show you what I'm talking about. I did that with the peat moss because I have a small greenhouse. It's 6 foot by 10 foot, right? It's basically just a chicken tractor with plastic on it. It's not a greenhouse per se. It's another one of those experiments I did. I wasn't sure if I was going to need 2 chicken tractors. I bought enough material and put the one together, really liked it, put the second one together, and then decided to turn it into a greenhouse by covering it with greenhouse plastic. And you can see the foam over the conduit to give it protection against the chicken wire. And then on the outside edges, you can see the bolts here where I had to, and it was a pain. I don't think I'd ever do it again. I would probably go with a kit. Whoops, wrong side. That's got the shade cloth over it. But so I just went with the track material and put it over the conduit and bolted it in place. And there you have my chicken tractor turned greenhouse. Excuse me. So I do have a fan inside, so that manages to do a pretty good job of keeping it from getting too hot. We almost always have a breeze from the south. This year I moved the greenhouse, and I have it oriented now where it should get afternoon shade from the peach tree, bit of morning shade from the peach tree, and maximize the benefit of the breeze coming in from the south. But this video is going way too long. But let me show you what I came in here for. I apologize. This is the tray I set up this morning, and if I get this to work, you can see underneath there's just a little bit of really wet peat moss, and that will keep it from getting too. When you have a small greenhouse like this with no high venting, where it'll be 50 degrees at sunrise and 85 degrees in the shade at noon, you have to come up with something, and that's what I've chosen to do to buffer. It moderates, it keeps it moist. It's a great way to water from the bottom, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job, so I'm going to be sticking with it. And then, just because of the way I have the equipment that I've got, one of the things I did wrong, and that was because I really didn't know any better, and my friend Taylor really came in, and she had worked in a greenhouse before, and she taught me about getting the moisture right. Now this is still going to be too dry, but I can show you for example's sake. Now I'll put the cell in the tray, but you don't want to have the peat moss in the tray at the bottom yet, and just come up and just fill it like this, and I keep doing that and working my way up and kind of pushing a little bit of weight in my hand, so that if you can see my fingers kind of go in a little bit, there's not a lot. In this one it'll go in a little bit, and in this one it's not. So you know that particular cell is full, but you're not compacting it. See, you can kind of compact it there. That's not what you want. What you want is you want it firm and full, but you don't want it full and loosey-goosey like that. And so what's worked well for me is just to do that and just kind of run my hands up. And then that way I can get the whole half tray filled and it'll be consistent. See, those other cells, the soil fell out. These stuck. This one was loosey-goosey, and this is the one that's just about right. And then you can just turn it over the other way, fill the other half of your cells, and then just take this and move it, and then just put your peat moss or whatever medium you want to do. If you want to do this step as well, and wet it down, and now you've got a tray that's done. And I'm putting in the same Sonora chili peppers into these 50 trays, this 50 cell tray. I'll probably only put two seeds per cell, maybe more, but probably 2 seeds per cell, or possibly 2 holes per cell with 2 seeds per cell. Why? Think about it, gang. I've got the seed. I've got the soil. I've got the trays. Everything else that I need to do for my garden as far as peppers are concerned are taken care of. But what if, because it happened to me, what if I can take an old seed, plant a bunch of them, mess it up bad, and only get one to germinate? Well, I was able to do that 2 years ago with the same California seed with a with a cayenne pepper. So now I've got cayenne peppers growing in that tray right there. That came from a cayenne pepper that came from seed that was 15 years old. Now, do you think that the genetics in that particular seed are going to be pretty good and passed down? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So do I. And that's why I'm doing it. Because why not? What if I only get 1 chili pepper out of 200? I'm going to ask you a loaded question. How many seeds are in an apple? Well, generally speaking, it's, unless you're dealing with some kind of funky hybrid variety that doesn't have seeds anymore, so you can't grow them on your own, about 15 to 20 is the general rule of thumb. Call it 5 to 40, it doesn't matter. Now let me ask you this. How many seeds are in an apple? I'm sorry. How many apples? I just ruined my own punchline. And I'm probably going to leave that in this video. So you've got 5 to 40 seeds in an apple. How many apples are in a seed? It's basically either 0 or virtually infinite. Why? Because if you plant 1 seed and that 1 seed produces an apple tree, and that apple tree produces 100 apples in 1 year, and those 100 apples produce 4,000 seeds that year, and those 4,000 seeds produce 5 more trees. It just keeps going. Have you ever heard the story of doubling a penny every day for a month? If you haven't, look it up. It's really pretty interesting. So that's my point. I've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. I'm going to be able to test out this new potting mix that I'm doing. And I have not tested it out. So I'm not giving that to you as a recipe for you to do, knowing that it's going to work real good. I'm giving that to you as a recipe that I've done, that I'm confident it's going to work well, but we'll see. So with that, gang, I will wish you blessings for the day, and whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream.